Traat'aliit, gaar besbe'trayc.
Why does the sheer sight of a T-Wiser strike fear in their enemies' hearts? Sure, the Mando'a are incredibly skilled and tough warriors, wearing nearly impenetrable suits of armor, and walk around armed to the teeth. But that's not all there is. Ask any survivor of a Mandalorian assault, and they will tell you all the same. The enemy didn't just attack, they descended. They appeared from the periphery like phantoms, striking with a speed that defied logic. It was a morbid, precise dance, methodically picking off targets from a distance, closing the gap in a blur of motion, and vanishing as quickly as they arrived. They do not fight. They control. Their strikes are surgical, their movements fluid, and their tactics shift as rapidly as the battlefield demands. This is not merely combat, it is the manifestation of an indomitable will. It is why the myth spreads across the galaxy, not as a flame, but as a wildfire. Unstoppable, consuming, and terrifyingly efficient.
Sukui, Olarom. I'm Anubis. I have been studying and working with Mando'a for about 10 years now. I am a linguist by hobby and one of the contributors behind the Mando'a expansion project, which is hosted on mandocreator.com, where you can always find the latest and greatest edition of the Mando'a dictionary. Today with me, as always, is our lovely
Velen, Olarom. And as you guys might all be, I am melting. Like, holy shit. Like, what are the odds that we spoke about heat and moisture and deserts in the last episode, and now Shabla came true, basically.
The twin sons of Tatooine are upon us.
Yeah, this ain't Mustafar, but it's sure as hot as that. Yeah. But we anyways have great news. We have to welcome not one, not two, but 3 new Patreons. So please give a round of applause for Torfen Ordo, who subscribed in the Vertica tier, Anna, who also subscribed in the Vertica tier, and Commander Cody that went ahead and got the Rusalor. Vore for your support.
Vor and yeah. Oh yeah.
Speaking of, you know the drill. Patreon. If you want to support us on the project, you can do so on Patreon. Lowest tier is the before mentioned Vertica, starts at $3 a month. You get access to our community Discord, where we post bloopers, a picture gallery as of lately to the episodes. Also, for the older episodes, there are some articles I wrote up on Patreon. That just all takes a lot of time. That's why I kind of have a backlog there and resorted to the pictures now.
So it goes.
Yeah, well. But yeah. And of course, as always, also make sure to check out our YouTube channel and our other social media things like our Instagram. Speaking of social media, we had kind of funny encounter. So I posted something on Reddit the other week, like a little 5 Mandalorian insults carousel picture thingy. And one person was commenting like, yeah, their favorite curse word is shabuir. And that it was the Mandalorian equivalent of mother effer. And another user, it's so hilarious, was going on about, so since the clones, the commandos and the arcs learned Mando'a from their trainers, and that filtered through to the regulars, probably also the Jedi were, how do you say, came in
exposed
contact
to this at some
exactly.
point.
Yeah, they were exposed to Mando'a at some point. So it's conceivable that Mace Windu knew the word shabuir and used it. And what then followed was a hilarious gif from Pulp Fiction with basically the caption, Mando'a shabuir, do you speak it?
What does Marcellus Wallace look like? Does he look like a shakar?
I don't think so. Wanted you to have part in this because it was too good not to share. Speaking of too good not to share, also something our Patreons get is a sticker pack. And I just recently made a sticker of Anu's helmet in a flame with the caption, more spice. So
More
that's
spice.
added to the sticker pack now. So,
It's fun.
So, without much further ado, let's get to our intro sentence.
Yeah. So, let's do that one more time. Traat'aliit, gaanynir, besbe'trayc. This one's a pretty simple one. No complex grammar to ramble on about in this one. It's simply Traat'aliit, which is the squad or your team. Gaar, your. Besbe'trayc, weapon. So your squad is your weapon.
So, as you might have guessed, our topic today is combat and the adjacent tactics. So the first thing we have to do is kind of setting the scene for that. So what is the skill level of like a single Mando'a? What are his capabilities and how does he use them in a fight?
Well, we have lots of examples of single Mando'a going out there and wreaking havoc in fights against any number of opponents. And I will go ahead and mention that I have finally seen the movie.
The movie!
I got to see some cool fights, some cool single Mando'a action going out there and wrecking shop. But really, take your pick, whether it's Boba Fett, but not in the original trilogy because the combat tactics there leave a little bit more to be desired.
So you mean rather the lack of them?
Yeah. So if we want to talk about the tactics or the skill of a single Mando'a, it's certainly the ones that we've seen on screen in media are probably not your, average stereotypical Mando. These guys are kind of the best of the best, the elite that we're seeing here. But certainly your average Mando is at least quite capable and not to be underestimated in such a fight. I really think the scene from Mando season 1 is it would probably be a typical thing for almost every Mando, where the stormtroopers have him and they say, we have you 4-1, and he says, I like those odds. Like that. I would say that's you could probably put that on your average Mando to be
I guess so.
Able to 4-1 stormtroopers in a disadvantaged position.
I mean, disadvantaged position is a good point you make, because that only happens if they get surprised. And I mean, in his case, he was, so to say, even equipped for the job. Even if it was more so later on when he got like his kit upgrade. But what I wanted to get at a little is that you can become a Mando'a at every age, technically, but for the sake of the argument, we speak of a, like, at least as a child, adopted and raised Mando'a that is fully trained, right? So he would be, she would be fully trained in close combat, like in hand-to-hand combat, and he would be capable on like a variety of weapons. Right. And just to give you guys some vocabulary for that, I have gone ahead and just compiled all the close combat vocabulary I could find in the dictionary. So, of course, we would have gaanynir.
Yeah, it's gaanynir. It's a little bit of a weird one, actually, I would say.
Yeah.
We can start off maybe with nynir, which is just generic, like to strike something. And so gaanynir is then to punch, or like to strike with the hand, because the hand.
Okay, now that makes sense.
The hand is gan, so nynir plus gaanynir to punch.
But then we also have ekur for to choke, which you guys might remember from last episode when we had like the constricting snake, which was an ekurak.
Yep.
So
choking predator.
That's where that comes from. Then we have the like non-slang word for headbutt. That would be kov'nynir. Kov for COVID, like the head, and nynir, as we had like to strike, to hit. And then we also would have tettar, as in to kick.
And this one I'm not exactly sure where the tet part of tettar might come from. It seems to be kind of unrelated to anything else, but we do see the tar piece when we look at like sitar or boot.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes absolute sense. Yeah.
Maybe it's I don't know. Maybe it's related somehow to tab for foot. I don't know.
Yeah. Could be. So, also something I want to bring up just to establish it, since we have the opportunity to bring in this vocabulary. As we all know, and as we talked about in lengths in the weapons episode, Mando's dressed for the job, right? So if they know whom's they will encounter, they will prepare. So speaking of the shrapnell, they probably would bring shrapnel or buckshots. That would be bavin, like in a scattergun, basically. Then you would have like your missile. This could be from the Jetpack, or also like a wrist-mounted one. That would be a besbe'trayc. Then you have something we actually missed in the weapons episode, as I later noticed, all the explosives. Yeah, I mean, it was a lot, but like, that somehow slipped us. Goore is a grenade.
And mentioning the topic of explosives, that is actually a fresh off the presses, newly minted word from the expansion team, because that was a pretty significant gap, I would say, in the language of not being able to have, like, say explosive, or explosion or anything like that. Like, all of the explosive related words were just missing. So be on the lookout for that to show up in the dictionary. It's should be published sometime in the near future.
Yeah, as we have spoken many times about, like, there are some weird gaps in the language sometimes.
Yeah, when you look through the language and you think, man, why we have all these words, but how do we not have words for this or that or whatever else? Like some of these obvious
Yeah.
things, you wonder where all of the word effort is going. Well, it's things like what we're talking about right now, because holy moly, there are a lot of words here. And also like the military terms, like, it's, there's a lot.
Right, that's something I forgot to mention. This episode actually is the first episode that our Patreons voted on which topic we would do.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's something we're gonna do moving forward. So we gave 3 topics to pick from, and just bringing that up because one episode we will definitely do is like a broader military theme episode that's not as much about the fighting and the combat, but more like of the organization and also like the day-to-day military life, basically, like being on patrol, being on guard, whatever. So if you're missing the vocabulary for that in this episode, don't worry, we will do one specifically for that. Right, kind of in the same direction as the Bavine shrapnel buckshot, we have puutec for a bullet projectile, like your good old shatter gun, right? So we wanted to include that because that's also something you would kind of need mission specific. Also, like the word for ballistic then would be puut'la,
like a bullet.
Yeah. And also something I already mentioned, sen'tra is the jetpack. We also didn't have that so far. So yeah,
let's talk about some battle terms, getting into some of the ways to talk about tactics and whatnot. So the most basic one here is akaanir, just to fight. And something that I wanted to mention when we were talking about the close combat terms, certainly Mando'a would be trained in some kind of martial arts from a young age for these close combat skills. But there is actually no Mandalorian martial art that is named in any of the media, any of the books, or anything that we've been able to find, unfortunately. So I guess it might kind of make sense with all of the many and varied backgrounds of Mando'a coming from different cultures and different races, that it would kind of just be a mixed bag, some kind of mixed martial arts type thing, and not really have its own defined style. But I really feel like that's a missed opportunity there as well.
Yeah, but on the other hand, we also don't have a name for all the medieval martial arts stuff.
Also true, yeah. Even on our own planet.
So I guess sometimes it's just practicality over just giving like a, how would you say, a convention to the thing?
Yeah. Function over form, as it goes.
So kind of like that. Yeah.
So, anyways, continuing on with our battle terms, with that aside. Akaarud, encircling, so surrounding and encircling the enemy. And this is a noun, by the way, not a verb. You're not actively encircling something. This is the arrangement of encircling something. Now we have, in a similar way, we have aranovor, which is a verb, and this is to obstruct or defend something or make a blockade in front of something, or to make a blockade to defend a place, usually hardening a location, against jorkad, against an attack. are an assault, which we've talked about Jurkad and Jurkadir before when talking about the famous phrase.
Nu chukadir shamandoade.
Yep, exactly. Don't mess with Mandos. So yeah, the noun form there is Jurkad, and the verb is Jurkadir, to attack or threaten. Interesting that those are combined as the same. Food for thought. Next up, we have Kadilir, which you'll notice it has this kad root, like with a sword. Kadilir is to breach or pierce. So like breaking through defenses, breaching through a location. Next up, we have Ramika. And this is related to Ramor, I would say. It's so we have to attack or besiege when you have like a kind of a larger army attacking a place and besieging a location. That would be Ramor, which is a verb, to attack or besiege. And Ramika is a raid. So this is a little attack, a little besiege, where you have a raid on a location, but not a full-blown siege.
Well, what I just noticed is that a coincidence, or is the Ramikat basically from raiding then?
I would say that it is, almost certainly, yeah.
Ah, nice.
So the commandos are usually the ones going in doing the raids, so that's why they are the Ramikat.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's commando tactics. So yeah, okay.
Raid person.
Yeah. Hey, but actually something that makes sense, like structurally. So
the more you know. So we have, if you want to talk about maybe the results of a raid and how successful you were, and you're describing the enemy forces or the enemy base afterwards, you could say that they were Hokanish if they were sliced up, cut up, and just totally, completely broken and defeated. Of course, this is almost certainly related to the similarly named Mando'a in
Hard Contact.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the name of the first book.
It's
Hard Contact. Yeah, and it's interesting that that's his name, because we actually have akaanir, which is to cut or slice, is the verb, and so hakanish is sliced up. Yeah, maybe you're reporting and they say, so how was the enemy? Hokanish. Oh, Hokanish, you say. How was the Ridor? Hokanish, you say. Okay. Memes aside.
In my headcanon, I must actually say is that Karen Travis actually first named the character and then came up with the word. Probably, most likely is really like that, and then just made that Hokanish because the guy himself got basically blown to smithereens by Omega Squad.
Yeah. Ripperino. Or as we would say in Mando'a,
Kua.
Kudesi. Yeah, Kua, basically. Kua. If you ever see that KUA abbreviation, that's basically RIP, Kudesi Uresakan, rest without war. Kua. Okay. Sorry, bear with us, guys. It's really hot, so our brains are not firing on all cylinders. We're going to be even more all over the place than usual this episode.
The magic of the post production. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll get it sorted. All right. So if you feel like you are in danger of becoming Hokanish, you might decide to retreat which is tokad. And this one's kind of like related to, you might say that it's describing throwing down your swords, essentially, retreating by dropping your weapons. And you might then also scatter as you're retreating, gaanynir, or your enemy might scatter before you. Gaanynir is to scatter. And as we're rounding out the terms for battle here, we also have lesur. And lesur is the verb for targeting something. So to target or to focus on something for attacking it. Lesur.
Yes.
And villain.
Yeah, I thought lesur was kind of funny because I immediately had that like, bring it down vibe. You know, like yeah, focus on the heavy weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
More dots.
So one last vocabulary bit before we really get in the thick of the topic. But that actually, I think, is a funny one because we have like multiple words for enemy. Enemy in itself is arwe. You might notice the familiarity to arweti. So that's where that comes from. So then you have when something is hostile or enemy, like if enemy shaped, why not enemy? It would be arwela. And then something that's super interesting, we have gebaru for an enemy that is near, and we have shayaru for an enemy that is far away. And my personal favorite is naruda, which is a temporary ally, but technically also enemy. It's kind of the enemy of your enemy thing, you know? Mm-hmm. For now, you have a unspoken ceasefire because it's kind of like, I would take the Sith as an example, like in the Sith Wars. The Mando'a, they were like, oh, you also don't like that close stick guys, so we're cool for now, right? So, but they were not cool for long.
Yep, that was a hard lesson.
So that would be Naruda, our temporary ally. So, without further ado, let's get in the meat of it. So, I just figured it would be easier to get that words out of the way than to just sprinkling it in like every 2 seconds. So what have we seen tactic wise? And that's honestly pretty easy to narrow down because the overarching theme in Mandalorian single combat, but also in the unit combat, which we will come to later, is it's all about building distance and closing in again. So when a Mando'a has a jetpack, we can see a perfect example of that in episode 2 when Jango fights in the arena and unfortunately gets nixed by Mace Windu, but that's another thing. But also we can see, as we iterated sometime, he only dies because his jetpack malfunctions, because that's the tactic he learned to use. And that's, now that I think about it, also the tactic he uses against Obi-Wan on the deck on Kamino.
You see it a lot in that fight, yeah.
He keeps his distance. Every time the enemy tries to close in, he builds distance again with his jetpack, and therefore creates an opportunity to use his blasters and his other ranged weapons again against an enemy that is superior in close combat. You would avoid it, or the Mando'a will avoid it. But on the contrary, if you have an enemy that might be more dangerous at range, you can use your jetpack to close in faster to get into close combat. So that's something that's really interesting, and that's not too far away from the actual tactics you would use in real life. So when you know that your enemy has superior firepower, you want to get close, you want to hack them, basically, quote unquote, so they can't use their superior firepower because they are at risk of shooting their own.
Makes sense and very practical, as you might expect.
Yeah, so that's something really interesting. But as we all know, Mandos are nothing if not versatile. So we also have, depending on the target or the mission set or whatever, we also can have different tactics, like working from the extreme far, like a sniper, which would be a ramser, by the way, or also working with many explosives. We already had a word for grenade, so a goore is a grenadier.
Grenade warrior, basically.
Yeah, I mean, practicality again. So which brings us to combat in let's say, loose groups, or with, as we have said, with your Traat'aliit, with your squad. So most of the times we see Mandos in canon media, and we see them fight when they are more than 2 or 3. They basically drop in as kind of an air cavalry, basically. I think the closest relative you would have to this kind of combat in our world would be paratroopers, airborne, basically. Either fast roping from a helicopter or dropping off a Chinook or cargo plane. Be like free fall, halo, hey-ho, or also static line. You might have seen it in Band of Brothers when they drop over Normandy. So that's basically the classic static line, where you just jump out of the plane and your parachute opens on its own. But yeah, we kind of see the Mandos doing something along that lines. I would say it's more like the free fall version, where you have your own parachute that you open yourself and you steer yourself. We see that when the Mandos drop from the gauntlet fighters, basically this moment which is the floor just opens, they drop down and then activate their jetpacks to get into combat. We actually have a word regarding that. Barishir is to deploy, and we have Barish for deployed.
Yeah.
We see a lot of examples of that in Clone Wars and Rebels. We also see it in the final episode of Mandalorian Season 3, I guess, when I remember correctly.
Actually, I think it happens more than once in Mando Season 3, I want to say.
Yeah, it could be. I'm not sure. I just remember that like the most iconic one I saw was when they drop over Mandalore.
Yeah, there's also the when they drop in on those pirates on
yeah, right. You're right.
What is the name of the planet?
Navarro.
Navarro, that's it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So we see that, and even without the fighters involved, also when the covert comes to the rescue for Mando, they also basically just drop in with their jetpacks and wreak havoc.
And in Season 2 as well, Bo-Katan and a couple of the Night Owls. I think it's Axe and I've completely forgotten the other one's name.
Koska Reeves.
Koska, yeah. Axe and Koska with Bo-Katan come into back Din up when he's getting accosted by those Aquarans.
Something that is actually also akin to modern day tactics. One thing you learn in this assaulting or even defending if you're on the go with a convoy or something is keeping the initiative. Violence of action, you would say in English. And we found a word that conveys that pretty good in Mando'a.
Yeah, that would probably be Kalden, which is listed as targeted fury or focused rage. But yeah, I think that does fit pretty well for this violence of action concept.
Yeah, that's a concept you use. Like keeping the initiative is the like more common thing. like this violence of action thing is something that's especially important when you go in close quarters combat and house clearing or room clearing, basically. So every second you wait gives your position away or gives the enemy time to prepare. That's also something actually we can kind of see in the Mandalorian, is when he goes back into that compound where the client resides and just mops the floor with all the stormtroopers. Why is he able to do that? Because he absolutely surprises them. They don't know what hit them after the alarm goes off. And that's basically violence of action. He doesn't sit around and wait to be spotted. He takes the initiative.
Yeah, you pretty much see it in basically every single time that he's raiding some compound. He just doesn't stop moving forward. He doesn't give them time to take up positions and prepare for what's happening. They're always scrambling to figure out what's even going on by the time he shows up.
Yeah, it's kind of the good old phrase. They don't know what hit them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also kind of the same with Boba's entrance in season 2 when he gets his armor back.
Exactly. Yeah. Kalden.
Well,
like
they're also like, what is going on actually? And yeah, it kind of goes back to Anu's comment from earlier with I like those odds. That's also fake. Like if a Mando'a is prepared to fight those numbers and don't get surprised, don't get caught on the wrong foot, they have such a big arsenal on them. They're basically equipped to take out multiple enemies, like the knee cannons, the whistling birds. Also, most of the time, dual wielding, to be honest.
Yep.
So that's also a thing that we see quite common. That was something I wanted to bring up. Favorite example, Django again with his dual blasters. That's also something we see quite commonly, is that Din is kind of the exception to the rule there with his and pulse rifle. Most of the Mando'a we see don't use weapons for long range.
Which, I mean, makes some sense, I guess, because they're usually kind of quick in and out, up close and personal, and how they tend to engage.
Yeah, and that's also a thing that goes back on the equipment, because they can control their distance, as I iterated with the Jetpack, so they keep their optimal engagement distance for them. And B, they don't have to be too afraid to close in, because Beskar. So if the enemy doesn't use some like superpower weapons that are souped up to the brim, most of the times they can at least to some degree rely on their armor to don't get sniped from the far. So that's the two components that allow them to mostly use hand blasters or carbines, and that allows for quicker reaction times, A, in a close combat environment, or B, as I just said, like the dual wielding with Django, so you get a way faster cadence of shots.
Always keep that pressure on. Yeah, always keep your enemy on the back foot.
We learned to the saying that says, basically it translates to who shoots faster and hits better wins the firefight.
Makes sense.
It's super obvious, but actually it's a good truth. Like, yeah. You have to be fast and precise to win. You don't just can hit volumes of fire in the dirt. You also have to hit. But at the same time, if you need like 10 minutes to nail your shot, you will be suppressed already. So there's a certain pragmatic truth about that saying. So, going on from that one, we also wanted to include the one example we actually have unit level tactics in universe, or at least in Legends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Soft canon, as I like to call it, because
that's fantastic.
They still reference it in Disney canon, even though they haven't explicitly canonized it. You still have those references, like with Boba Fett's chain code and so on. So I think they haven't fully decanonized this one. So yeah. Anyway, as we talked about in a previous episode with the Open Seasons comic, when we talked about Jango Fett and Jaster Muriel, we see in that comic some mixed unit tactics happening in their mission that goes wrong because it's a trap. They have 3 squads split up. One is the Vertigo squad, which is the aerial support with the jetpacks and dropping in on the enemy. You have Headhunter squad, which is the one that's charging in to accomplish the objective. And you have Jango's grunts, which are the squad that covers Headhunter squad, lays down covering fire, makes sure that the extraction is clean and protected. And so you have this three different units performing different tasks and accomplishing the mission.
One little pedantic bit, it's more like platoons than squads, but
yeah, exactly.
Spot on. We also have a word for platoon. That's why I remember this. And the word for platoon, we have given you Traat'aliit for the squad.
Platoon is Traat'aliit.
I guess. Is that also the diminutive one, or is that just a coincidence there?
I believe it is. We don't actually have the word trot in the language, like just trot by itself. But it is conceivable, and don't take and run with this. But it is conceivable that trot probably means something like force, like fighting force.
Yeah,
it's not army, because we have army as akaanir, and that's basically warring people essentially. But I think fighting force is, you could probably say trot would be a good translation of that.
Yeah, I can see that because I was just looking it up because I also didn't think about it earlier. And we have Vutrat also, which is translated as special forces. So that would make sense to me. So that would mean that Traat'aliit is the force family, so to say, like the family unit.
Right.
And then you would have Traat'ika for the little force, so to say.
Platoons.
But okay.
But yeah, like I said, that's not official yet. We'll have to check and cross-check that one. So please don't run away with that. But it's pretty guesses. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. But I'm not the only member on the team, so I can't just. I can't just bless that straight up.
So Shoya,
Parjay and Shoya will come find me.
Mando'a shall we hear? Do you speak it? So, yeah, speaking of, with what Anu just presented, I just wanted to sprinkle in the words for infantry, which would be the foot element there, right? That would be Traat up.
Yep.
And we also have a word for cavalry. This would be besbe'trayc. So one could argue that the jetpack element is the air cavalry there.
Yep, I would say so.
I also guess so.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we mentioned the word for it earlier, but we haven't talked about some examples. Talking about the Ramika, the raids, these commando missions. So where have we seen those in media?
Mostly we have read about it in the Republic Commando novels. I mean, that's quite literally what it's about.
Yeah, this in the title, I guess.
Yeah, just to set a scene, what is a commando mission? So a commando squad is almost always comprised of 4, sometimes 5 members, most of the times 4. I just can't speak for the German military, but I think it will be pretty much the same in other militaries because it's just dictated by necessity. You have different professions or expertises there. So that's also something we have in the Republic Commando novels, what I quite like because I see KT put some research in that. We most of the time have a preacher or assaulter. Sometimes this role is the same, sometimes not. That's really, I think, mission set specific. So the preacher obviously is the guy with the explosives, right? So if there is something you can't get into, make it disappear.
Exactly.
That's also like a running gag they use in the RC novels, like an sufficient amount. And what is insufficient amount? It's way too much.
P for plenty.
Yeah, exactly. We have the medic most of the time. So a squad member that's even more trained than the others. Every soldier and of course every commando gets a pretty high, how do you say, a pretty high...
a high degree of training.
In first aid, yeah, exactly. But like those guys are pretty much one notch under a real doctor. They are able to give infusions. They can perform like simple surgery at least. They are allowed to dispense like opiates like morphine or something. So these are the guys that patch you back up if something goes wrong.
Get yourself some Bacta, soldier.
Yeah. Then you most of the time have a sniper or an assaulter. Like I think those are kind of interchangeable depending on
the type of mission. Yeah.
Most of the times also have a comms expert because someone needs to know all the technical stuff to make sure your taxi home finds the rendezvous point.
And because in the Star Wars universe, this role usually is also the techie that is hacking systems and whatnot.
I mean, that's kind of fitting. So that's not too far from the reality, to be honest.
Right, exactly. Somewhat newer role on the battlefield in reality, but certainly a thing.
Yeah, but also like in real special forces training, you would get at least some training in decryption and deciphering stuff. So I don't know if the hacking part is too far-fetched.
Sure. Yeah.
One thing that you will obviously have with like such like high stakes missions and such a tight knit group is radio discipline. So short, concise,
clear and precise.
Communication. So one phrase or one word you might remember from one of our intro sentences is "Hukat Kama," and just put in itself it's as much as, "Hey, cover me, watch my back, watch my six." And the basically your Roger understood affirmative would be Jorlek. I don't think we used that so far. I had to think about what would qualify as a commando mission, and even if it's not that military style in itself, I guess you could also count also from Mando season 2 the raid they do on the Imperial base with Bill Burr's character. I always forget Mayfield is his name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
where they basically infiltrate the base.
Basically a commando mission, yeah.
You also have the sniper cover fire. You have the part with Boba picking them up again with the slave, basically coming in hard. So that's, as I thought about it, that's not too far from like this typical commando mission, at least in the movies. Right?
Yeah, it has all the components.
Yeah. So I thought that's also an example of what you would be seeing there. So of course, what also is involved in all those commando missions is a lot of the stuff we already spoke about in the last episode. Like operating in hostile environments, being able to camouflage yourself, being able to hodasal, and you also would be looking for ambushes, of course, Chehaveir, and of course, commandos, Basla and Scheffler, they strategically disappear. Yeah, but that's kind of it. So I guess that's all we can give you, like combat and tactic wise. But of course, we have our word of the week. Word of the week. Yeah, our word of the week is akaanir.
Akaanir. Yeah, close enough.
Akaanir.
So that is hard contact, which is the English, at least. I don't know what the German term is, but the English military
pretty much
term
it's pretty much the translation of it. It's basically you would, from German to English, translated literally, it would be enemy contact.
Yeah, okay. So hard contact specifically is I see an enemy and they're shooting at me.
So we have to speak about your guys' homework. We have some contributions again. Goore. We will go
Always
over those
excited
now.
to see what you guys come up with. So the first one that we will read here is from the ever faithful, always been there since day one, Galar Jaren.
Chatnese.
All right, I'll read it as it is, and then we'll talk about it. Nimirdi Meg, some typos here, but I think it means hastvetin, orikir amla, jorku nu kai bal nu perun, bal ni or pagu nadalish burun. Nadalaish, yeah. So, and what you said that you were intending to say with this is, I think that the desert is deadlier because of the lack of resources and because I hate hot weather. I can agree with that right now, especially. All right, so let's get into what you wrote here. Let's take this from the top here. I would say grammatically, it's pretty darn good, pretty spot on. So Nimirdi Meg, great use of Meg there. I think this thing which follows. I think this. I think that. Hastvetin, so typos aside, the desert. Ori Kiramla, so the desert is very deadly. And if you're trying to say that it's, the deadliest, you would want to say kiramlane. So you just put ne at the end of the adjective, and that makes it like whatever est. Kiramlane would be deadliest.
Could one also say Shia Kiramla?
You would want to say...
If I really wanted to say more deadly?
You would say Kiram Lashia. So
okay. That way around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Exactly. Jorku nu... So resources here. You translated this one as food, I guess, which, sure, yeah, that works. No food and no water. Because no food and no water. That works perfectly, I would say. Bal ni orpagu nadalaish burun. So nadala is an adjective already as its own, so you don't have to add the ish to it. So it would just be nadala. burun, which is weather. Yeah, that works just fine. So I think besides the ish on the end of Nadal, I think that is perfectly done. Round of applause for Galajaran. Good job. I also would have to agree here. I would hate the desert more than any of the others.
Rainforest.
I mean, at least you've got
moisture
water.
Yeah,
at least you've got water to cool off.
That's a point, yeah.
And Shoya, of course, always contributes, I would say, to our videos, and usually corrects something that we were dikute about and said wrong. Appreciate that, as always. It seems last time we mispronounced Serashik as Serakish. So just if you noticed that last time, Shoya pointed it out for us. Thanks for that. But Shoya said, Shoshie Burkishne Jorku Ratin Orishiagi. So that would mean oceans are the most dangerous because there's always a bigger fish.
Yeah, well.
Love it.
Great. Good work there.
All right. Now, the final one that we'll talk about is from Soren Lok. And they said, Niguro Shoshie megvire ori mando karla kurs. Ashi viraye liniba gartsikador. Kai pirun abik ulik raga ramana. Kursnar lekigar dinui balak gardrashar. Ogir vadas megar baj hibi marir. So that's a long one, and I really had fun reading that. So well written as it is. Let's say what you meant to say with it, and we'll talk about it. I am fond of the ocean, but the environment most testing of skill, the one that has the most Mando essence, is the forest or jungle. Other environments you need to prepare food, water, air, mounts, or you die. But the forest tests you, gives you opportunity to improve. There is wealth if you learn to find it. So this is really
beautifully put.
Yeah, really well written, very poetic, even, I would say. So let's go into the details of what you wrote here. So Niguro Shoshi, that's perfect, of course. Pretty simple sentence there. You're fond of the ocean. But, and this is one where I'm not exactly sure the grammaticalness of it here. Certainly, you wouldn't really attach Meg with the bait in here as you did, but you could start with Meg here and be totally fine. I would say just don't attach it with the bait. Anyways, Meg vire, so the area that is most testing of skill, as you said. In this case, the same as I mentioned before. If you wanted to say this, you would just add the ne on the end instead of ori. You could, of course, also add ori in the front if you wanted to say like big Mando Carla est, but you would just want to say Mando Carla ne. So the most Mando Carla is the forest. Ashi viraye li niba gartsikador. So this is a hard one to say in Mando'a exactly as you wanted to say it, just because it's that whole generic U again, where Mando'a doesn't generally like to throw that out as much. You could still say this here with gaar and just be like you're talking to someone and it's fine. But so I'll just mention that and then we'll continue on. So the way that you've written this here, it says other environments need you to prepare, which is kind of true in the meaning of what you're trying to say. But if you wanted to say that, you must prepare for other environments, then ideally you would want to use inteo here. So gaar inteo, you are obligated to do this thing. Gaar inteo psikalor, so you must prepare. Need with liniba is, I'd say you probably could still use it in this way, but really it's more talking about needing things like I need food, I need, the things that you listed are the needs that you have. And generally when you use linibar, you're talking about needing something specific. And if you want to use the verb, like if you need to do something, it's more likely going to be in teor. Okay, so you listed off a few things. That's fine as is. Or you die. Yeah, that's works perfectly. Ragar Ramana. Okay. Forest tests you. Yeah, kursnar lekigar. Yeah. Also, it gives you opportunities. I would probably rephrase this part. The dinui balakar drashar. It is very poetic the way that you've written it, but giving opportunities to learn. You could say it as dinui balak par drashar, like opportunities to grow. I think drashar probably refers to literal growth, but if we want to use it here, that's fine. So yeah, I would say dinui balak par drashar is a better way to say this. Gives you opportunities for growth, essentially for growing. Ogir vadas, yeah, there is wealth if you learn to discover it. Yeah, that's Maria. Yeah, I think that works. Yeah, works fine, I would say. And the last sentence there. Yeah, just a few edits here, and mostly due to the way that Mando'a typically avoids using this often more poetic, passive, third-person style of speech, and instead preferring to be more active and direct in the phrasing. But yeah, I would say this is incredibly well written, and I enjoyed reading it. And buckets off to you for writing it. Good job.
Yeah, really. That one really. I also really like that you used a lot of words we established last episode. So
exactly, yeah.
Chatebor.
Well, homework being the last piece, now we need to set homework for this episode.
Yes.
So,
what I have thought of, what I would like you guys to do would be just build like a combat specific sentence, so to say. For example, ni akaanir darcheti aden, ni akaanir jetise balish. Which would mean I fight the Sith mercilessly, and the Jedis also.
Yeah, that's a great one. And some of you overachievers, maybe you can throw out some combat dialogue or something. Who knows? I know you guys are creative out there, so
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see what's rattling around inside those buckets.
I wouldn't have thought that we get to the point where this is really its own section. At first, I was like, yeah, maybe once in a moon someone spits something out, but like, that has really evolved.
It's definitely been a pleasant surprise. The way you all have engaged with the homework assignments. So, vorintje, all of you.
Vore.
With all that said, all that leaves us with now is to say,
Returshimi.
Returshimi.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.